All right. Welcome everybody. Sorry we ran a little bit late for those of you who are here. Feel free to throw in the comment section who you are, where you're from. I can see a bunch of you there. Danica and I were backstage putting some stuff together, and we were in the wrong room. We were having a great party just by ourselves, but we're here with you guys now. So thank you all for joining us today. My name is Kurt Kempton. I'm the founder of ResponsiBid. I started as a window cleaner and pressure washer, and I just tried solving some problems with technology that ended up putting me into this space here. So today I am meeting with Danica. Danica's out of Destin, Florida. One of my very favorite vacations I've ever been on, to be honest. Danica's probably like, yeah, you're the one clogging up our roads, but oh, she doesn't feel that way at all. Okay, good. We'll talk about that.
The tourists keep us in business.
Okay, well, we loved it. We went with my whole family. Those of you who haven't been to Destin, then I'll go ahead and make a quick commercial. White sugar sand beaches. It squeaks when you walk in it. It's so crazy. And oh my gosh, the weather is perfect. It was just, I mean, I get it. I was there for like a week, but I mean, it was gorgeous. Some of the most beautiful sunrises I've ever seen in my life, and just absolutely fantastic. So
Beautiful.
Thank you for joining me, Danica. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was saying beautiful emerald water. Absolutely love it.
Oh, yes, that's right. The Pacific water, it's dirtier, it's colder. Like there's just, yeah. Anyway, well, let's get into it. We've got a bunch of fish franchisees joining us today. It looks like Tom Chesney is with us out of Lawndale, California. And Rusty Lasker is here. I'm trying to remember where Rusty's from. I know I've met Rusty before. But we got a bunch of other people here signed on as well. Danica, will you take just a moment and tell us a little bit about how you got into the fish franchise? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard my story yet, I was in the broadband space prior to fish window cleaning. I lived in the corporate world, was head of marketing for a couple different broadband companies. One of them got sold, you know what that meant. So I started looking at franchise opportunities. I lived in St. Louis, Missouri at the time. The unfortunate part was around the same time my husband learned that his role was going to be changing to a potentially different company. You're basically getting phased out. So we were both going to be jobless, but we didn't know. So therefore, like we kind of were in a flux, like, should we start a business? What are we going to do? And then here you go, David. He wound up landing a job, but we were going to have to move to his market. So woe to me, we had to move to the panhandle of Florida. But through that process, we weren't ready to start a business because we didn't know what Destin needed. So I became a franchise consultant, and I stayed in the broadband space to help another company sell to the company that we just sold to, had a little background knowledge in that while we figured out what Destin needed. I happened to be on a call for a client to learn about fish window cleaning. And when I was on that call, I was like, oh, no nights, no weekends, no holidays, subscription model. It's not an emergent service. I live near the water. Uh-huh. There's something here. So we were on our way to Pensacola from Destin. I looked at my husband on the way. I said, hey, we need to chat. And I told him about the business, and we made it to about Gulf Breeze, passing new strip mall build, new strip center build, just all this new development that's happening in the area. Did a quick competitive search to know that there isn't a lot of window cleaning companies where we were at. Pensacola had a few more. By Pensacola, we were like, yeah, this is a franchise for us. I did all my validation, talked with some great people along the way to learn that fish was the spot. But when I went to headquarters for my discovery day, when I saw, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man a fish, feed him for a lifetime, that's something I've been saying for as long as I can remember. So I was like, all right, let's do this. Where do I sign? Like, let's make it happen. So that's it. Awesome. I was a franchise consultant. My client didn't move forward, but I did.
Wow. So from franchise consultant to franchisee in like 2.7 seconds sort of situation.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, Danica, one of the reasons that I've got you on today is because your approach to quoting services is, I think, I'll call it unique, but actually it's just the way it should be. The words you use to describe it are stupid simple. And I want to kind of get under the hood with people. A lot of times making something stupid simple means you have to do all the work up front so that it can be really easy on the back end. And I think that that's kind of the case here. Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned when we first started talking that, you're a good fish franchisee and you're anxiously awaiting the app. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I know Fish is diving into really working on the mobile app. Super supportive. I will offer feedback as they need it. However, like everyone, I want to scale. I want to make sure that we're doing this as easy, as quickly as possible. So until that app can meet some of my needs that I have that I'm using in ResponsiBid today, I will probably not interrupt certain things because that stupid, simple aspect. But I want to be a good franchisee. So when it can hit these marks, fantastic. Let's run. Kurt, I know you're super supportive of that, and I appreciate everything that you do and ResponsiBid has brought to the table for my business. So thank you for having me today, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, if anyone from Fish headquarters is on listening right now, or if anyone wants to pass this message along, I would love to be part of the help. 10 years ago, I was at an IWCA convention. I was just a window washer who had some technology. And I remember approaching Fish to let them know, hey, I've built some technology. You guys are pretty big players in the game. You want to play with me? And I was very politely rejected. And I've had a few conversations since with different people at Fish. But this is really a space that I feel that we have done a great job in, and that we could help scale things with, either through partnering in technology or at least consulting and helping to make it go faster and avoid, the problem with, from my experience, the problem with being a technical person and then trying to start a technology company in it is that they're very different spaces, and the learning by hard knocks is really painful. So if we can help assist in any way as technology is growing down at Fish, I think that's something that we've already learned a lot of the hard lessons, and we're happy to pass along. All right, let's get into it. Danica, when someone calls for a quote, you just clone yourself 7 or 8 times, I'd imagine, and you just head off in 7 or 8 directions all at the same time, right?
Yeah. So those of you that are not familiar with the Panhandle, it is long. I know a lot of Fish territories are like 45-minute circles. Destin's in the middle of my territory. It's an hour and a half to one side, an hour and a half to the other. So I do have to clone myself. I can't make it to all the places. Our goal is to get every estimate done within 48 business hours. So ResponsiBid has made that possible. It's a metric that we can hold ourselves accountable to because of it.
What are your constraints? Do you allow customers online quotes? Do you only do in person or over the phone? What are your limits, and what are you not willing to do?
So we only do in person, over the phone. Some commercial properties we can potentially do, from a Google view, but all homes we do an in-person. Part of it is a safety inspection for us. If somebody just shows their windows, we have a lot of places that maybe our guys can't reach because suddenly there's the Gulf of Mexico there, or there's protected land we can't walk on. So we have some of those pieces, but also it's the human element. So we don't let anyone go online to do their own instant quotes, which is fine. It works out. It allows us the opportunity to meet and greet and kind of give our Fish experience to any of the residentials, and even a lot of our project jobs. We go ahead, we still get out there, we get eyes on the glass, because the photo feature in ResponsiBid is a lifesaver. And to have that in a couple different places, our guys can document really easy, but the other part is they can hop in and pull those back up and see some of the conversation that was had, even in the field doing the jobs.
Nice. And I will say, just to kind of commiserate with you here, it's very common for people to not allow online quotes with ResponsiBid, not to install on their website. I think there's even some limitations on the fish side about who can and can't. I know I met earlier with David Galkin, and he also feels the same way. What I have found is that if you are a 1 or 2 person company, I think online quotes become a lot more attractive to people like that who just truly don't even have time to pick up the phone. It's like how they're picking up, like getting the tire kickers out of the way. Mm-hmm. So that's an important part of sort of deciding what you will and won't do based on what your capacity is, what your company's ethic, I shouldn't say ethics really, probably just what your framework of your company experience is. So keep that in mind. All right, Danica, do you want to share your screen real quick and just take us through the process of, we'll start with maybe something that you would do, and we'll obviously tie it back to the idea you were talking earlier about technicians being able to give quotes. But let's just start with sort of a best case scenario. Customer calls you and you have to go give a quote. I'm going to share your screen here on the stage. Absolutely. Walk us through your process.
So best case scenario, someone rings through. Hey, thank you for calling Fish Window Cleaning. This is Danica. How may I help you today? They want an estimate. Fantastic. Whether it's a commercial or whether it's a residential customer, we jump immediately to our call screen and we enter in the information. Email address for us is almost always mandatory. So we do talk about the benefits of that, and we don't ask for their email address. We say, where do you want the estimate to be sent to? What email address? So it's very assumptive that we're going to get that. That was one of the main drivers for me in ResponsiBid, was being able to have that follow-up. So this is good when we're street bidding, or this is good when someone calls for an estimate. You guys know that most of the time, you're going to get more estimates out if you're street bidding. And so the other part of this is it's very mobile friendly. So if someone calls and says, I want window cleaning service, wonderful. We choose window cleaning here. There's a lot of modules here. Happy to answer any questions on this, but this was a key factor for me on ResponsiBid of how I can customize this for so many different elements of my business. And we'll come back to some of these. Property information, we're really big about how did you hear about us? So the next question is, after we get the address, the information, how did you hear about us? If it's a technician, their name gets selected. If it's something else, it's how we track some of our marketing efforts. If it's a technician, they get paid for these estimates if someone calls in, or when they're in the field doing cold estimates, street bidding, they select their name so they get paid for that estimate too. How did you hear? Yes. How did you hear about us? We don't really talk about basements. We don't really have a lot of basements here for obvious reasons, but this is where it's important is if you're choosing residential or commercial. If it's a residential, we do try to get the stories in. It helps our guys kind of prepare when they're going out in terms of what they're looking for on a property, or just make sure we're in the right place, because we've literally drove up to spots that it's not the house that's on Google because they tore that house down. And there's a completely new one there. And I've done it. And one of our quarterly customers is one of those examples. Or we do commercial, super easy. I think the important thing to touch base on is whenever I was working with my ResponsiBid onboarding specialist, who's amazing and an angel and my biggest hero in my life, Sydney. She was wonderful. Oh my gosh. So I'm a kind of person who I have to figure it out, and I want to be able to do it myself and be able to figure it out. And this poor sweetheart kept checking in with me. Hey, when do you want to set that meeting? When do you want to set that meeting? I spent 3 weeks trying to fumble through how to set this up. And finally I just relented, and she was like, why don't we set up this meeting? And I'm like, fine, let's do this. Best 45 minutes of my life. We had almost the entire commercial built out set. So the onboarding has been, not only was amazing, but her continued support. We've been meeting the last couple of weeks to add more modules and better my business. So commercial side is really simple. If it's going to be a commercial project, we just have first, second, third story windows, first, second, third story cut-ups. And then if there's any mall glass, full transparency, we only have one mall, indoor mall in our footprint. Everything else is outdoor malls. So that's it. The guys just count and enter the information. They add the equipment maintenance charge. That's something new that I just came away from convention with. So all they have to do is put a 1 right here. and that adds our equipment, our travel fee or whatever service charge, whatever you
Yeah.
guys are calling it. I'm calling it equipment maintenance. So that builds it into the price. So I don't have any issues there. Can this be a ring route? Does the window have screens? We have a lot of commercial buildings that were once residential that they do have screens in them. So that kind of stops a technician from doing that cold estimate and alerts like someone else needs to do that, because we want to handle that differently if they want to keep their screens in. So that's a conversation that they have up front, like, hey, I see you have screens. Are these something you're wanting to keep in, or did you want to clean them and like store them? If they store them, great. We want that as a route job. But if they want the screens cleaned every time, then we need to kind of look at that as a quarterly job. So we pivot. Okay. And does it have location or signs in the window? Once they fill all this out, they just hit get bid. And then they walk in the door and they present it. So they'll present it from their phone. So anybody can do this because all they have to do is copy and paste information from Google, or if we're getting the information from the phone, we won't fill out all of the bid stuff. We'll hit visit for bid. It emails myself, my admin, and my supervisor. One of us calls out, hey, I've got this one, and we get it done within 48 business hours. Those are usually residential, sometimes commercial. So on the residential side, you'll see that if we switch it up, then we have a lot more conversation about what the window types are. So this is the French panes. Then we start going into the different window types that are in my area. Again, it's just counting. Nobody's having to do any math. Nobody has to write anything down. Everything is calculated every step of the way, down to screens and tracks. And then if it's a post-construction, like if someone didn't mention that it was a construction clean or that it was a renovation clean, we have this here to kind of say, stop, that needs to be bid a different way. We actually have a module for that now. And then is there any visible staining, so that we make sure we're talking about some of those components too. And that's it.
Danica,
it's easy.
I just want to ask a quick clarifying question. You mentioned that sometimes you'll do visit for bid and sometimes you're collecting all the information right away. When you get on the phone, do you attempt to try and get all this information over the phone, and like best case scenarios, we're going to get through, and if I can't, then I pivot to visit for bid? Or are you going for visit for bid? Like that's what the ideal situation would call for. And if the customer's impatient, and you're like, oh, let me see if I can make this happen now. Like, what is your methodology on that?
Every residential is a visit for bid.
Okay.
So our policy is our office manager says, hey, due to OSHA regulations, we have to do a safety audit and do a walk around to ensure we have anything documented, like power lines or slopes or something, and they drop everything. Okay, totally understand. It needs to be for OSHA. Commercial, it depends. We first look to see if it's already in our ResponsiBid. If we can get a true Google view, we will potentially try to do that from Google. But I would say 9 times out of 10, we're going to go ahead and visit that site still, just because we have so much new build here.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and honestly, Danica, new build, old builds have their own problems that come with it too. So yeah, I totally get that. So maybe in the best case scenario, you're setting this up for the person who's going to go finish the bid. You're going to get as far as you can along on the phone without any intention of actually finishing the bid over the phone. And you're going to put them in that visit for bid status, getting the follow-up that goes along with it, assign it to the person to go out and give the quote, and then just let that sales process play itself out as they finish in person.
Yes. But the real bread and butter of what we've built here is for the street bidding. So for the cold bidding purpose, when the guys are out in the field, this was where I was commercial first and focused on how do I set up my Fish is going to say, and I will wholly amen to this, street bidding is how you build your business. And so my function was, my goal when looking and evaluating ResponsiBid was, how do I build this to help my street bidding so I can go from barely getting any estimates out to 100 to eventually 200 a week, and keep scaling that up by using either estimate writers or my current team. And how do I make it, to your point, stupid simple? Just really simple to do. And this is it.
And if there's 2 kinds of cold bidding, right? Like the one where they're out doing a job and the person next door walks over and asks for a price.
Yep.
And then I'm assuming you also do basically the equivalent of a 5 round or whatever when they're done. They need to go out and give quotes.
So for us, and think of it less on the residential scope and more on the commercial scope. If the guys are out en route, they can look to the right, look to the left. They see dirty windows. Hey, if this doesn't have a bid in, let's walk in that door. Let's get them a bid. They get done with their jobs early, but they don't want to come back and get more work. They could spend some time hitting up different storefronts and introducing fish. And I mean, they're sweaty, they're gross, but they've been working. So they're the proof of concept too. So they can start bringing those cold estimates to the table for different businesses we don't serve. That was our primary focus when we built this. Secondary was the residential. So yes, it's made it so much easier to do residentials on the spot. I love when we get those quotes because we usually close those same day, get them scheduled pretty quickly. And then they always cloverleaf, so they always go to the houses next and across the street to present information. So if that person happens to be home, then they can get that estimate done too. And we've made that process really easy. But it really was about the commercial side and making sure that the street bidding was executed. And it kind of started with having estimate writers first. We've just recently gravitated to where technicians are like, I want that money. Don't pay someone else. Pay me.
I'm already here.
Exactly. I'll do this. Yeah. And I can make more money, and I'm already right here, so I know how to tighten the routes.
Yeah. Well, let's for the people watching, let's take a look at what they present. What does it look like when the proposal is generated?
Yeah. So actually, what's exciting is once I go to the dashboard, I can see that someone's been bidding a little bit today. We've got four bids out. So we're going to look at Terminex, and this is our side of things, so it's really easy to see that Todd was out there bidding. He's my supervisor, so I'm going to give him some kudos later. But what I love is how easy it is to show this proposal and the fact that it is red. It is completely branded. So when we pull this up, Todd pulls it up on his phone. When he walks in, he says, my name is Todd. I'm with Fish Window Cleaning. I just happened to be in the area dropping off some window cleaning estimates. Who should I chat with about that? Get whatever response you're used to getting. He says, is this the correct email address you want it to go to? So we've already pulled that from the website or from Facebook when we're cold bidding. We got everything in here before we walk through the door to make sure we're maximizing the time, the FaceTime with this person. They confirm that the email address is right, or they say, no, use this one. They don't say, no, I don't want to give you an email address very often because that's not the question they were asked.
Yeah. Hey, I hope everybody's taking notes on this. Danica just shared, like, this is the second time you shared it, but in different settings, and they're both the same thing, but both very different. I'm not asking you if I can have your email. Where should I send this? Which email address should I send this to? Boom.
Yes. Is this the one? So then if it's the person we need to talk to, and some people kind of get a little weirded out about this. Our guys and everyone we worked with, we just make it bigger on our screen, our phone screen. We turn it around and we walk through it with them. We make sure we create the space that's appropriate for standing next to someone, but we just walk them through the inside and outside rate and the outside rate of every 2 weeks. We don't even touch every 4 weeks unless they ask the question. And the good news is it's already there. You guys know as well as I do that 9 out of 10 times the person you're talking to is not going to be able to make that decision right then. So that's fine. We just say, hey, thanks so much for your time today. If you are ready to move forward, you just select which package you want to do and you'll scroll down. We have our insurance on here. They can download it as a PDF, a little bit about us. We have some more information coming, but you can scroll down. You feel free to leave us a note and just sign your name right here. Then in the next business day, we will give you a call to tell you when your schedule is going to start and ask you a few questions. Easy peasy. So we get people that'll close in the middle of the night because they're business owners who finally got to sit down and make a decision. And that was one of my first factors of wanting ResponsiBid is how do I capture that person I can't get on the phone to follow up with?
Yeah. And I should point out right now it shows $0, but that's the cool thing about this proposal is it's dynamic. So you can make they can make those selections above of what they want, and it will obviously update as they make those selections. This is a real live Terminex bid. So
so
don't go
0 here.
But,
and if they decide to go outside only, it kind of grays those out even if they don't go down here and say, I'm ready to schedule, maybe they're like, oh, I need to check with such and such. I can go to see the most recent activity, and ResponsiBid will show me something went on with this bid. So I can go in there and see, oh, they selected something. Maybe they didn't finish it. Hey, can you call him? Can you call her and get it going? But otherwise, they can sign right here. You see that populated. And if they want to leave a note like, hey, we're going to pay by credit card, maybe they remembered that part of the conversation, maybe they didn't. That's it. So, and if they didn't mean to set it, then I just removed it. And so now everything is back to 0.
Nice. Okay, so this is powerful. We're actually looking at a real life example of what Todd went out and did earlier today. And I assume he's just driving around doing cold bids, like, or was this a warm one?
No, this was a cold bid. It was near a job that he was cleaning today, and he looked to his left, looked to his right, saw some dirty windows, and said we should probably be taking care of those. And that's what we're working to incorporate. It's now part of our training process. And our goal is for our route guys to try to get 2 a day. We're starting small, and we're trying to build them to 10 a day. If they have 10 jobs a day, they can do 10 bids. That comes up to $30 extra a day that they earn, $150 in a week. $150 is a day's worth of work without actually having to do the manual production. So they can increase. Then when we pay them, we have somebody who calls, and I think this is the next important part. We have somebody who calls on all of these. So I've taken that off my plate too. On the commercial side, if you see my follow-ups, you'll see that there's an email follow-up here. And that's on the 4th day of that life of the estimate. Day 5, they get a phone call. So if that opportunity closes before the phone call starts, then the technician will get 10% commission, just like they sold it as an instant go. But if it closes after the sales support starts, the calls start, then they get half of the commission. So they're still incentivized to get it done. And they don't have to do anything afterwards after they get that bid in. Like, everything is handled on this side. And we're demoing another product that I think is going to help us take to the next level. Chirp, this is kind of new, so I'm not 100% sure. But Chirp loves ResponsiBid. So there's some products there that I think will help us take our touches to the next level. But that was first important part, was how do I make this stupid easy for anybody to go do estimates for me? Second was, how do I make it easy for someone to keep up with the follow-up calls? And I need something to send emails on a recurring basis so that I don't lose interaction with these clients if something were to happen to the phone call flow. Because that's one of the problems I was having with the paper estimates, is if I had to go put out a fire, those calls weren't getting done. And if I had salespeople, you guys already know that story, so we won't go into it. But if I had a salesperson and they were doing their calls, but they decided to leave because this wasn't their jam, I've lost all that momentum unless I go through all their papers, technically through their PDFs, to get that moving. In this fashion, I have multiple people doing estimates, and I have one person doing calls. I have email follow-up going, and we're keeping that cycle going. So if you're going to ask me about close rate, please just remember that these are marketing touches. So it takes many touches through the life cycle for whether it's phone calls or emails for some of those to go. We just closed one a couple weeks before convention that she had somebody 6 months ago, but they quit showing up. So our email came through and she's like, oh yes, I remember you guys. Let's get this going. My people quit showing up. We're getting
fix the problem.
Yes. So that's why you see all of these follow-ups. Right now I'm at 350. I need to get back in here to start doing some more emails. So one of my favorite emails, after about a year, we switched to being educational instead of, hey, don't forget about those windows. We have a few educational ones, but this is how to get Google reviews. So at day 300, we're going to give you just some free information on the best way to incorporate getting Google reviews with your team and through your business. And there's even a line in here, why is a window cleaning company providing marketing tips? because I believe in the business community supporting each other. So they're learning a little bit more about me. I might move this email up, but that's the beauty, is I can do that really simple just right here.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
Kurt's point earlier, a lot of upfront work, but when it's set, it's great.
That's the thing, is that the upfront work that you have put in here, it will pay dividends every single day, many times per day. You are the most on the ball person these people have ever dealt with. There's a couple things that you're doing when you do this. I think, just to state the obvious, the more you touch a prospect, the more you have those opportunities for a prospect to say, this person stopped coming. Can I sign up with you? Right. But some of the less obvious stuff, number one is that the guy that I'm paying money to, does he treat me this good? Does he remember me this well? And the answer is probably a pretty resounding no, right? Like, so at some point they look and they go, if this is how good they are when you haven't given them any money, I sure wouldn't mind being treated better. And it could be, this guy just consistently leaves water pooled at the front door of our business, or this guy is constantly leaving streaks on the windows, or this guy is constantly showing up at the highest traffic time. You know what? I wonder if this company that really seems to like take care of their customers, or in my case, a non-customer, I bet you that I could get better service from them when I'm dissatisfied. There's just a lot of psychological friendship being built here. And I understand you can train a customer to ignore you, but what Danica just showed you is how you avoid that. She's throwing stuff in the inbox that's of value. Sure, at the beginning, it's going to be, you have your quote. Let's talk about your quote. Do you have any questions about your quote? Can I do anything to help your quote be, if we go up into those first two, even 90 days worth, I bet you're talking about the quote a lot, right?
Yes, I was thinking that it switches at day 15. It's still about the quote, but it's about how does your business set a first impression, and it's a lesson in how you set first impressions with your customers before we even talk about, oh, by the way, here's your quote.
Yeah. There's a little bit of like,
yes,
the first few are going to be like trying to close the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, it's like, look, I just don't want you to ignore me in your inbox. I'm going to just bring you value. And that's what you've done. David Galkin. Hang on.
I saw that 9-year follow-up status. So David was one of the first inspirations for me looking at ResponsiBid. But I couldn't get out of my head about how it was a residential tool. And as a new franchisee, I was like, I can't focus on residential. The model is commercial. And then there was a window cleaning company that came to town that just wanted to chat and have lunch. And I love when those show up. I will talk to anybody because I just learned so much. And they showed me their bidding calculator for commercial. And I was like, that's ResponsiBid. And then I'm like, wait a second, let me see that back end. And that's when it clicked with me that I can hack this. I can make this work for commercial, and therefore I can multiply myself. And holy cow, this could happen. And it's fantastic.
Yeah. So we've tried to make it so you don't have to hack it. It is very flexible. So, it does work for residential, and residential has its own nuance. But we've tried to build it in a way where it's flexible enough for you to use it for whatever scenario you need. And we've gone over the actual quote and the proposal. We've gone over the follow-up. And now what you're going into is sort of that calculator part. So you want to talk a little bit more about how you customize your proposal?
Yes. So for a little bit, we did just have commercial window cleaning and residential window cleaning. And this is one of the features, by the way, that I love, when the guys can just pull these images up and say, like, I'm at the right house. Oh, this one's going to be a lot of cut-ups today, so I need to have my whatever, my game face on. We have some different pieces built in here. You see, this is the back end of all the calculations. So nothing too crazy, but what I love is you can also open this up and see all of the calculations that are happening.
Yeah.
to understand, like, why is the total? Did I remember to put this in? What is going on? Did it get its travel charge? Some big pieces there in terms of, making sure the profitability is happening. So that's just on the residential side of like making it really easy. I don't know if you noticed that Katie actually has a couple different options right now. Oh, not this house, but she has a second house that she wanted me to do. And what I loved about Katie's opportunity here is look at all these different estimates I'm able to include in this service. So she wanted a full window cleaning, but they are also very interested in having recurring service on what I call the back view of the property that overlooks the Gulf. So she has a couple different options here. And when we look at that proposal, it's laid out really nicely.
There you go. That's nice.
It looks gorgeous, and so it's easy for her to go back to. It's easy for her to have to have that information. These are some of the images, I think, of the property. So if she was concerned that I went to the right property, she can see that in there, and that's just really, really nice. The other part that we've recently incorporated, I don't know how many condos you guys have around you, but something about water means that we have to have a lot of buildings that have multi-dwelling units. So I was really challenged for a while on how are we supposed to do this? How are we supposed to bid these in a way that's really easy for us to execute on? And so this is a test area that I've been playing in with some of our new modules. So like here's condo window cleaning. I'm actually going to start a new one because that's where I found an error. So I'm going to reset this one. But just for the record, if you're concerned of like whether something is calculating right, whenever I went through this, I saw that the doors were underneath the multiplier, and this will make more sense when I go through it in a second. So I just said something quick to Sydney. She said, you're absolutely right. That is not right. She switched the module for me. So now I'm going to reset this. It should be all 0. I didn't save it. Hold on. So in theory, this should 0 out.
Oh, you're trying to get it all set back to 0?
That's okay. We're going to just do a quick one for condos, because this was the next big hurdle I had to figure out, was how do I make this work for condos? So I'm going to select condo window cleaning.
Reset button. I think the reset button is if you make edits, but you don't want to save those changes, you can put it back to how it was when it started.
In my head, it completely reset to 0.
Yeah.
I think it does it in the field. So the thing about the condo piece is we have condos that go up to 20 stories. So that's not really, that's not really part of what this platform does. But when you talk to Sydney and you walk through things, you can say, actually, it is part of what this platform can do. So we're just going to drop in some numbers really quick for a condo. And understand, guys, some of these condos are 4-bedroom condos that are 3,000 square feet. Like, they might be a condo because they are in a building, but they're huge. So we like to make sure that we have all the same window types. We get a lot of transoms. We have all the same window types. All of these are priced as what a 1-story price would be. We have a lot of sliding glass doors on these condos. Sometimes tracks, sometimes not. But I'm just filling some stuff out along the way. The important part here is we're bidding it just like a residential property, but instead of choosing the floors up front, we have the option for the floors in the drop down, and it'll add a multiplier, which is the multiplier of how the price point would go up per floor anyway.
Okay.
So I'm going to choose the multiplier of 9.
Okay.
Oh, what just happened? Oh, hold on. I didn't fill something out.
Oh, you were missing a required field. I think how they heard about you is not selected. Nope, Danica's there. Huh.
I got this.
Oh,
There we
I think
go.
you hit continue and it closed the accordion. Okay.
Maybe that's it. Yeah. So you see, this condo could be expensive, but again, if it's a 3-bedroom, 3,000 square foot, it's going to be priced as a house. But what I love is if I go back into this property, this is the one we just did. I can look at that calculation and I can see the fine-tuned calculation. It added $504 based on what the floors, the number of floors accelerator is.
Yeah, for your access charge.
Yes. So, this is what it would have cost for a first story, but because these guys have to park in God knows where, carry all the equipment there, go up 10 floors, 9 floors, this is what it would be, just like in a residential. So that was everything that I've had opportunities for have been here. I can create something for it. The next module we just added is I have a one-time commercial window cleaning. You guys know that if you're just going to do one time, you want to charge more. So that one, it's red. Only myself, my admin, our sales support, and our supervisor can fill that out. But our sales support can say, this is what it's going to cost one time over the phone now. And she can just drop those numbers in based off of what's already in the other estimate. But obviously, we don't want to lead with that. But my next big thing that was a big win was our premium projects. So premium projects, I have one that's for construction and one that is for non-construction. And this one is for the construction, restoration, whatever you call it. For us, we have decided to do a day rate per tech. So every one of our techs is 8 hours a day at $150 an hour. We always know that there's going to be 2 techs on that job. So it's at least a $2,400 job. So we choose how many days we project that job is going to take based off of the walk around that we've done. And that's for a general clean. That's if we're not taking stickers and film off. That's just if we're coming in and maybe they haven't done a post-construction clean, so we got to get all the drywall off or stuff like that. That's how we determine the number of days. But if we have to get all of the stickers and the film off, it's going to take longer to do. But we've built it this way so that you can see how the pricing will go. We always assume 2 technicians. When we get the pricing, you see here, and again, I just threw numbers together. You see this is a pricing. If you're like, oh my gosh, someone's going to pay $19,200 for a construction clean. Well, if it's going to take 8 days, we're going to have 2 guys on site. And let's say it's a brand new multi-level office building or something. We got to make sure it's priced right. They may say, no, I'm fine with that. I didn't really want to be there for 8 days anyway. But you can see how that's kind of calculated here. And it's just basically an hourly rate that we incorporated. But again, that's available on the proposal. So if we needed to do a multi-proposal for some crazy reason for a condo and then a construction clean, that's right here. And then it shows what a general clean has and it shows what a deep clean has.
Nice. Wow.
So again, I've made it a little bit easier for us to do these big jobs without me always having to be there. My supervisor would be the only other person who would do this particular job. But as we continue to grow and we continue to grow that knowledge base, then it's ready.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's actually really cool. I like what you've done there for the construction, because construction clean is, when you talk about making something stupid simple, construction clean's like that thing that's like, yeah, except for construction clean. But even then, you've adapted it to become really simple. Like, now you need to like, most quotes, you need to know how to count. In the case of your construction clean, you need to be able to look at a job and say, this is a 2-tech 4-day job, whatever that case may be. And that does require some knowledge and know-how. But you've already kind of allowed for that, right? because you're making it so that's only something that you guys can do. So that's fascinating. Danica, when you give quotes out and people accept them, what does your acceptance process look like?
So the next day, our office manager reaches out to every single person. If it's a commercial recurring job, she just lets them know when they're getting started. So ideally, it would be that week. So if it's between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we'll get them in that week. If it's Thursday or Friday, we let them know, hey, we're going to start next week. We give the expectations. We work Monday through Friday. We'll be here between this time. These are the hours. If it's a restaurant, we get 2 times that we can be there. They're pre-volume time and their post-volume time, so that we can try to work around that, because nobody wants us cleaning the inside windows while they're full. Totally understand, but we have to have 2 times. She gets the payment method. If it's going to be a card, she tries to get that card on file now that we have the portal, and the card's kind of locked into Fish 3. So, and we just set those expectations. We let them know about the work orders. We just kind of remind them of the process. If it's a residential, again, we call the next day. We thank them so much for the opportunity. Every time we're confirming the details, this is the price. Want to make sure that that's every 2 weeks, or that's one time. You guys know that sometimes on the commercial jobs, every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks gets forgotten somehow. So we just like to make sure we're confirming that. Same thing on the residential. You want it inside and outside. It's this rate. We confirm that. Then we go ahead. We, again, find out payment method for residential, for large jobs, for construction, cleans, anything like that. We go to our calendar. We actually have a separate Excel sheet that shows us where we can do residentials. So we keep track of if it's outside of Destin, where, like, if we have a job in Pensacola next week, then we will slate, like, hey, if we can put another Pensacola job here, let's do that. And that is so while David is rocking the self-scheduling, because we're long and we're still trying to figure that piece out, we don't do self-scheduling. We have someone from our office always call so that we can maximize that time in that area. And I would say that's probably the biggest difference, is that we're just reaching out for that final piece, confirming everything's good to go.
So the big things that we've covered today that are kind of the gains that you're getting is making, number one, the bidding platform, quoting platform, something that anybody in your company can do. And obviously at the very first outset, you can actually start that quoting process on the very first contact, even though you're not necessarily going to try and complete it on that first contact. Second thing is obviously the follow-up. We talked a lot about your ability to never drop a ball. We didn't cover everything, guys, but she showed like an open quote, someone you give a quote to, and how you'd follow up and up and up and up, just keep following up with them until that quote gets either accepted or declined. But you can actually, she did show you commercial follow-up. You can have your follow-up sequences. You can have as many as you need, put in people into whatever part of the life cycle they're at. That could be jobs that were completed as a one-time job. That could be jobs that they accepted the proposal, but they haven't actually scheduled yet. There are so many here, and all of them have infinite follow-up. Now, are you going to have 9-year follow-up like David Galcon is talking about for every status? Probably not. But I will tell you that the one little hidden gem here is that your declined follow-up status, I promise you, there is a ton of money in your declined customers. The ones who say, no, you guys are too expensive, or no, I'm not ready, I don't want to do it. Those are the people who do business with someone else and get disillusioned. Those are the people who think they're good to go and maybe say something that would terminate the relationship. That decline status, basically lovingly and classy, in a very classy way, you can just keep that door open and say, cool, we don't have to close it, but I'm going to touch base with you 30 days from now to make sure that you're still good. And I'm going to touch base with you a year from now to make sure you're still good. And should you become disillusioned or unhappy with whatever solution you went with, which in a lot of cases, I'm thinking back to my window cleaning company, it was very common for a woman of the house to say that her husband would be doing the windows. And it was very common in my declined follow-up that I would be out there very shortly after the husband either attempted or actually, in his opinion, did the job. We would be right out there. And that declined status brings in so much money, and it really keeps relationships alive. So something to be considering there. Danica, anything else follow-up wise that you would throw out there to your fellow fish franchisees?
No, it's another piece that's on my roadmap to start tackling follow up in all these different statuses and then continue adding statuses. I know somebody had asked before, like, how can you do Google review requests through here? Yes, you can. And you can do it with a link, so it doesn't necessarily go to that customer survey that sometimes we get instead of a Google review. There's to Kurt's point, there's infinite things that can be done in here. I'm really still just scratching the surface. And for me, scratching that surface was, how do I take out as many obstacles as possible to get these estimates out?
I just realized what time it is. I just put it up here. If you guys have any questions for Danica, I'm happy to ask. You can just throw it in the comments section and we can do it. I noticed that you did have a follow-up status called has someone. That's perfect, right? Like, that's the part of the buying journey that customer's in. They have someone. They're and guess what? Do we not like people who are loyal? Of course, we love people who are loyal. But we want to be loyal to us later when they break up with their other person. So, all right. Jeff Craig just said, great job, Danica. How do you handle routing and assigning? You mentioned that it was done manually by someone in the office. I often refer to them as a savant, usually someone who's got the schedule memorized and knows how far it takes to drive from every cross street. But how exactly, you want to clarify that a little bit?
So, Jeff, all of that goes back into Fish 3, and I follow the Fish process. It goes into whatever week that we have designated in our route map for that to happen. We have some areas that we're in every week, so it's really not that difficult to just slide it in. And then routing the same way. We use our route trees. Because we're long, we still have to manually kind of build the routes each week to make sure that Pensacola is getting all the jobs done, because we have to give that to guys ahead of time. But we swivel chair to Fish 3. And while that might not feel ideal, it doesn't take that much more time than the paper estimates.
Okay. Are there tags?
No, they're not tags to name the routes. But again, we're very fortunate that most of our routes are built around the city name because of it being kind of a lot of small towns.
And keep in mind too that I'll just clarify one thing that we didn't cover here is rate scheduling. I'm going to get to Kirk's question here in just a moment. But one of the things that ResponsiBid is a sales funnel. And as part of the sales funnel, we just briefly touched on the fact that we do offer a scheduling component that can tie into your existing calendar. So we call it CrewCal. It's a feature in ResponsiBid that basically reads the calendar. It knows where all your jobs are located, and it knows what your rule restrictions are for how far and how what crews can do what jobs. And it's really, really smart. But in that instance, what it's doing is the same thing that a good salesperson would do, which is saying, do you want to do the job? If the customer says yes, we don't just go, okay, bye. So ResponsiBid says, okay, what date would you like it? We read the calendar, we figure out the most efficient opportunities, and if the job could fit on that specific day with one crew, and then we offer them and allow them to select the day, and then we write that day and crew and that job to your calendar. Now, we aren't tied into Fish 3, just as a disclaimer. We are tied into Google Calendar, and we'd love to tie into Fish 3 if corporate's on today, by the way. If you have an API, we would love to have access and to make Danica's and a lot of other people's lives a lot easier. But CrewCal is basically not taking the operational part of the job. And that's why I say it's like a good sales rep. In that funnel, we get them all the way to yes, so they can stop searching for their solution. And it basically optimizes what dates and times they're offered, and they don't even know what crew they've selected. They don't know how far the crew is driving. We hide all that from them. We only show it to you as the admin to be able to let you see like all of the thought process behind our algorithms. But it's super smart, super cool. So Danica is doing all of her operational stuff inside of Fish 3. She's doing her sales stuff inside of ResponsiBid. So getting the job, hooking the customer, so to speak. Let's use a few fishing analogies. Getting the fish out there, reeling them in, leaving the hook in the water with follow-up. All of those things are being done with ResponsiBid. But the moment the fish is actually reeled in, it would be amazing to have this integration, David Galkin. But once they're reeled in and you got them in the basket, that's inside of Fish 3. Okay. we got, let's see here, where to go. Kirk asked, will this be available after the live webinar? The answer is yes. This is on our YouTube channel, so you can come back to our YouTube channel. Maddie said it will be under the live section. If anybody needs a link to this after the fact, we can send a link to it as well. It'll be the YouTube link. Am I cutting out? Looks like my internet is acting bad. Okay, we're good? Okay.
Moving to my screen.
Okay, good. So if you need the link, let us know. Otherwise, you can go to the YouTube channel that we're on right now, which I believe is ResponsiBid's YouTube channel. Just go into the live tab. That's where it'll be sitting and waiting. And look at this. We have 1 whole minute to spare. Danica, any closing words that you would share with your fellow friends of fish?
A tool is only as good as what you're putting into it. And so my goal was, how do I multiply myself and get as many estimates out as possible? We have the yard here, so there's like a lot of fancy milkshakes, but we have a Destin specific one that comes with a sea salted caramel turtle that people like.
What?
Mostly they like margaritas and pina coladas though.
That I believe. I believe it.
But again, this is a sales tool. This was, how do I multiply myself and get as many estimates out as possible? How do I empower my team? Ultimately, guys, what I'm trying to do is, if I want to go semi-absentee, I have to build this into my process, and I have to make it stupid easy, because Michael E. Gerber says you're managing systems and processes, not people. So if you can get systems and processes in place and make them easy to follow, the rest of it really should come to fruition. So it's what you put into it now for the future tomorrow.
Well, Danica, yeah, thank you so much. And I love seeing a business owner who's investing into their business, into their process, and building something that'll last a really long time, which is exactly what you've done. So hopefully you've been an inspiration, as you've been to me, to everyone else watching. I know that that's the beauty of a franchise, right? Is that you have this gorgeous system that just kind of works. And what you've done is you've just really put some nitrous into that engine and just pumped it to go harder and faster and stronger. So kudos to you. If you haven't patted yourself on the back in the last little while, let's go ahead and give you a quick pat on the back.
I'll keep testing. Sydney needs a pat.
Actually, yes, I will end it there, is that our software is great, but our people are greater. And Danica has experienced that. So thank you to Sydney and all the people here at this company who make this stuff happen. And if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to go to responsibid.com. You can just chat with us on the chat feature. We're happy to entertain any questions you might have. But Danica, we love and appreciate all that you have brought to our family at the ResponsiBid family. And we will see you guys next time with maybe we'll spotlight another fish franchisee who's using ResponsiBid. And we'll see you guys later on. Bye.